Howdy everybody, Helcrex here, and welcome to Thoughts in a Dystopian World, Episode 7. And yes, today we're going to be talking about another Federated States of America ship, the Annapolis. It's a battle cruiser. It's a pretty good ship. It gets around, does things. It finds its way into a lot of the fleets that I ever play with. It's pretty much a lone survivor. Well, I always like to use it in conjunction with some cruisers, but being that it is a fairly large capital ship, but it's kind of, well, it's a cruiser line, just put it that way. The Annapolis is 120 points. It's a battle cruiser. It comes with a regular crew, which can be upgraded for 5 points to a stoic crew. Now, the difference between them is that with a regular crew, you hit on a 4+ and defend on a 4+. Now, if you pay the 5 points, and you get to defend on a 3+. So, if you're playing against somebody that always likes to try to board every ship you have, that +1 might be a big difference in keeping your ship and losing it. So going up to stoic might be, like, for 125 points might be the way to go. But, your mileage may vary. Depends on, I always look at it, it's one of those things where it depends on your opponent. If you're fighting against individuals that like to do that, then yeah, I'd say it's well worth it. Otherwise, find a place elsewhere for those 5 points. And a lot of times, though, with 5 points, you're like, what do I spend 5 points on? Upgrade a crew. And it's one ship. And squadron size is 1. The ship does have minimum turn radius of 2. It uses the medium template, which makes it a medium capital ship. So it cannot fire over frigates or corvettes, or, of the smaller nature. We're getting down into the smaller class ships. Now, this ship does have a plethora of good weapons. It has the fore and aft main turrets, which go out to range band 4, which is good. And then you have the broadsides and the rocket batteries. We're going to go talk about the weapons in a second here. Now, the DR is 6, which is good, which is equivalent of battleship DR values on all the other different fleets out there. So that's one thing to look at. It's usually takes a little bit more firepower to do at least a point of damage this thing. But its CR is 7, which is a little bit less than your typical battleship. But, you can't get everything. The movement is pretty respectable with a 7 move. So typically you're going to see a lot of ships going to roll 4s, 5s, and 6s. This has a 7, so it's getting up there in speed. Has 6 hull points, which is good. This thing can take a good pounding and keep going. Even though, with only 6, that's better though than your typical 4 you're going to find with most cruisers. So it's got a respectable amount of hull points. The assault points are 5. The AC is 4. So you not necessarily have a lot of crew on board this thing to get across, and the AC, if somebody sends a lot of missiles at it or aircraft, this thing is going to have a little bit of problem because it is a lone ship all by itself. So you might want to have something to protect it. The concussion charges are only 4. So if you send a nice big spread of torpedoes at it, the odds are it's going to take some damage. And then if your IR rating is 5, so basically not bad. Just don't run into somebody. It has a good chance of taking out and crushing any type of smaller ships like the frigates and corvettes of that nature. Now, This ship has some MARs, model assigned rules, which are combat patrol, which helps out because combat patrol is 3 to 5 small air squadrons. So if you can attach, let's say, up to 5 small air squadrons of fighters, and that's going to help out with your ACAC. All right, or if somebody sends any type of small aircraft like torpedo bombers, dive bombers, you got a squadron's air combat patrol that's parked up above you that's going to help you out and keep you from possibly getting mauled by small, from carrier action. So that is one nice thing that can be attached to this ship, which is kind of complements the ACAC. Now, the next thing we have is sustained fire, which is the main turrets 1. So we're going to go now talk about the main turrets. So if you fire one of your turrets at one ship, you get to re-roll one of your misses to possibly get another hit. So that is at least the good thing about the sustained fire bar that you find on this ship. Now, the main turrets, like I said, we'll go back to the weapons, go out to range band 4. This is your typical turret you're going to find on all your battleships, your cruisers, heavy cruisers, so it's all identical. And that's a nice thing because you can combine and throw 9 dice out there at range band 4 at somebody, so out to 32 inches you can really hammer somebody pretty hard. That's the nice thing about this, and you get to re-roll 1 die from your ship. So it is a good ship if you're running a single by itself. It's kind of like the cheap man's battleship in a way. It doesn't have all the extras that you find on a battleship, but can't be choosy. So the sweet spot with those turrets, like I've said before, is range band 2 and 3. It's really respectable at 4, but when you get into 3, you're throwing 12 dice, and if you get into range band 2, you're throwing 15 dice. And if you get into somebody, if you got, let's say, your dreadnought working in conjunction with one of these things, and they got a target painter on board, and they target somebody with a target painter, then you're looking at range band 1 with this thing, 18 dice. You're going to do some major damage to somebody on a 4+. Otherwise, it's going to be 5+. And on a 5+, the odds are not in your favor. You're hoping for a lot of 6s, basically. And I've always found in this game that if I am sitting in range band 2, I would prefer to stay in range band 2 and maneuver myself around to find targets that are within range band 2 or 3. The number of times I've seen targets in range band 1 and tried to shoot at them with hitting on a 5+, a lot of times it doesn't work out. You're better off shooting something at range band 2. You may be throwing 3 less dice, but you're going to hit more, if you understand what I'm saying. Now, the broadside is, it's kind of, it works. It's dice. Let's just throw that out there. Range band, out to range band 3. At range band 3, you're throwing 4 dice. That's not great. That more like a plinking type of weapon system. And in this case, if you do get somebody that's at range band 1 and they're in your broadside, use the broadsides. Then throw your main turrets at something else. It may be in range band 2. That's kind of like how I always look at it. Now, you do have a rocket battery that goes out to range band 3, which is 8 dice. Range band 2, you get 7 and then 6. I've always, and it's a 360-degree arc with this thing. And I always look at it, I always try to find somebody that's in range band 3 because I'd prefer to throw the 8 dice at something than a 7 or a 6. So pick your targets wisely. If somebody that's in the open, you do have line of sight to, that's not blocked by something else. There's been times though where I had this happen before, where you get a good player that will know how to screen you, because this can't fire over frigates and corvettes. And I've done this myself, is that you throw a whole bunch of corvette screen that's blocking your line of sight for you. So you're forced to fire at something that is a frigate or a corvette. You kind of like put a screen out and say, hey, go ahead. You know, you got your main turrets, got a lot of dice there, but you know, you're only hitting me on a 5. And sometimes it's only on a 6, because you know it's a P weapon, and range band 1, and if you're shooting at a fast target or a small target, you may only hit on 6s. You know, if you do hit, they're obliterated. But you know, it's a good way to really throw a wrench into somebody's plans. But if you got somebody that's out there at range band 3, throw the rocket battery that direction. Maximize your firepower. Now, other options. This model is fitted with a external kinetic generator for no cost. Okay. This model replaces its kinetic generator with a shield generator for 5 points. So here's where you start adding some points. There's been times where I look at it, it's like, with a movement of 7, I may not necessarily need that kinetic generator for that extra, possibly 1 to 6 movement extra. So I'll just pay the 5 points and put a shield generator on. Yeah, that's 2 dice that may be the difference between taking a critical hit or no hit at all. Because with this ship, they got to do 7 on you for damage to get a critical, and anything that may help you out. There's been times where I've like throw 2 dice and then it's like, oh, pair of 6s, get to roll again, and totally knock down something, you know, because you got exploding red dice instead of the blue, which is blue dice. You get your 1 shot at it. Now, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. It's not a bad ship, but the problem is with the battle cruiser is that it's by itself. You know, if it was in a squadron of 2, or being able to be attached to a squadron of cruisers, that would be great. That'd be one of the nice things that you could do with this thing, if it was possible. Have a squadron of, let's say, was it Lexington's, the regular, Lexingtons, the light cruisers. If you had, say, a squadron of 3 Lexingtons and you were able to attach a battle cruiser to that squadron, that'd be awesome, but they don't let you do that. So the best you can do is get a combat air patrol attached to this thing. So that is pretty much it. And alright, let's look at a couple options here. Now, if you leave the kinetic generator on, this could be a quick strike first turn weapon system. You roll the kinetic generator. If you get a 6, you can, plus your 7, you can almost go 2 range bands at 1 turn. So let's say you don't win the initiative, or they go first, and they move, let's say, a cruiser squadron or something, and it's like, yeah, activate the kinetic generator and try to get this thing into range band 3 or even 2 for that matter, and then just hammer something, or hit a cruiser squadron that hasn't moved yet, obliterate one of their cruisers out of the squadron, or damage it pretty hard, and then, you know, but you're going to be out there and they're going to focus you down too. So you're going to be looking at possibly their frigates hitting you, their cruisers hitting you, then their battleships, or even whatever they may even their own battle cruisers. So it's a give and take. You know, you got to look at the situation. Is it worth it or not? And then trying to maneuver to get in there as quick as possible. Hammer something quickly, hit a squadron. That's the other thing, is that one of the tactics in the game is hitting squadrons that haven't moved yet. So you're taking dice out of their pool, basically. Because it's like in the game, there's a possible number of dice that a squadron will throw out at a certain range band when they're all linked together or firing separately. And if you can hammer or even take one of those ships out of that squadron, you're reaching in and grabbing a whole bunch of their dice and then basically chucking them out. So they're not coming your direction. So that is one thing you got to look at. Kind of the tactics of this game. So there you go. All right. Hope you guys like it. I like the Annapolis. It's a good battle cruiser. Got some good firepower with it. And hope you guys like and subscribe. Share with all your friends. And we will talk with you all later. Cracks out.